So yeah, I am kind of happy I found quite a few of these Doctor Who book novels that were based off of some of these serials. Just as like you say, hey, I have these. Because sometimes I like to look back and remember my adventures. It's always fun to do that. This time looking back at the Doctor Who serial Genesis of the Daleks. But before I talk about this one, um, I have a question for you. We are for you. This one was a six. This was when it was 6 episodes, 25 minutes each. What was the whole one about this? Well, the Doctor and his time-traveling companions, Sarah Jane Smith and Harry Sullivan, are directed by the Time Lords to the planet Skaro at the time of the Daleks' creation, to prevent them becoming the dominant race in the universe. Apparently, it was originally commissioned under producer Barry Letts and script editor Terrence Dick, who believed that the outline submitted by Terry Nation, this episode, he thought, okay, maybe this is too similar to other scripts with the Daleks we've done in the past. How about we go back to the origins of how they were created? And then we have this episode, like Sarah, would introduce the character of Davros.
For some time, I have been experimenting with the Mark III project. Details and modifications will be distributed later. However, I am anxious that you should see immediately
Who, in a way, created him. And, one thing that this show does is that it may have had a bit of a darker tone. Well, more than usual, I'd say. And by darker tone, I don't just mean, like, say, holy cow, I can't see anything, kind of like that. No. And mostly just in the tone. Mostly because, like, say...
I've heard Davros say there is no intelligent life on other planets. So either he is wrong or you are lying.
We are not lying.
And Davros is never wrong about anything.
Do I really have to say it? Do I really have to? Oh, yeah.
Muters are the scarred relics of ourselves. Monsters created by the chemical weapons used in the first century of this.
I'm gonna say that I kind of enjoyed this one. I really did. In that, yes, even though we've had the character of Davros in like the modern era as well.
Welcome to my new empire, Doctor.
I kind of like the fact, say, hey, this was his first introduction to the audience. So I thought they did a pretty great job of introducing him to us. And yeah, like, you can see just by the characterization of this character, in that suddenly we have, the creator of him, like, yeah, you can, like, totally get the idea of, like, say, where they would come from, as well as their voice. Because when, Michael Wisher, who plays Davros, when he is getting frustrated and all that, like, you can hear all, like, say, almost, like, say, the Dalek voices.
You will tell me?
No.
You will tell me?
No, I will not!
This would also have the return of, like, say, the characters like the Thals, in a way, which had originally appeared in the second, I think the second Doctor Who, story, in which, I think it was the Dalek, in which we discover them for the first time, as well as the Thals, the race who, like, they had arguments and, like, issues with the other. And one thing this episode does, like, say, yes, I made a point that it is a darker in tone, and that, like, say, there are moments, like, say, when, like, say, the Doctor is, like, getting shocked, or he is getting, like, attacked by animals or creatures. And, yeah, I'm thinking, like, even for the companions, like, there's a moment in which, Sarah, she ends up getting separated from the Doctor, and, the character of Harry, and she ends up with some Mutos and the Thalls, who will basically like say, okay, like you must like get to work and all that, and they're trying to escape, and at one point, it like the way they do it is like say, okay, well this is getting good because at one point, it seems like say an adventure puts a companion at risk. But then again, that seems to be have always been a factor when it comes to the idea of the companion for the Doctor. And yeah, I really kind of dug this one, like this serial though, in that yes, like even though Tom Baker does a great job of like having like say okay like yeah like we got this like but at the same time like there's some ethical decisions that they're having to do like at one point he is deciding like say okay I'm going to destroy the Daleks by in a way performing genocide and at first like say okay like we have like this could work but at the same time he comes up with the dilemma in that suddenly okay if we do this though that sense of connection that races aliens and everyone coming together because of all the terror that the Daleks would create or um cause. So yeah anyway he like one thing that's happening is that at one point the Dalek Davros he is interrogating the Doctor to try to feel like say okay like tell me all the stuff that ends up happening in the future and why the Daleks don't work and they create a tape so then they can change all that and yeah like while all this is going on in serial um some of the folks who are the Kalids Kalidax who eventually become the Dalek, who and which is a switching of the name Daleks. They are like say they're eventually gonna say, "Hey, that Davros dude, he's doo 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 doo," and all that. So one thing that ends up happening as like Davros is going to say, we are going to like say, I will give you a choice. Do you push this button and all that?" But what ends up happening though is the Daleks end up like saying, "Okay, now we no play games eventually anymore." So the creator who was champing for them, he ends up like like being taken out by them. Like it's almost like say the idea of like the monster that you create suddenly overcomes you and having no way to combat it or control or even putting a stop to it. Like the monster or the creature has been taken out of the bag and it's no way to put it back in. So yeah, I thought this one was really good. There was like one thing that I kind of liked in that instead of using the TARDIS to get to the location, they had used a time bracelet. So one thing that ends up happening is like whenever they get that loss, it's like say, well shoot, we need to go back to where we are. Where we need to go back to where we were to get it and get out of here. And I kind of like that. I kind of like instead like because like nowadays it's like say okay well somehow we need to get back to the TARDIS somehow some way and all that. But this is like say okay like we're gonna have to use some smarts to figure out how we can get like back to that device anyway. So yeah, I thought this serial was pretty good.
But I do. You see, some things could be better with the Daleks. Many future worlds will become allies just because of their fear of the Daleks.
It made me realize, like, okay, so this is how they were created, and at the same time, the Davros, like, like, this is where he started from. Anyway, so, yeah, I thought this wasn't too bad. I enjoyed it. See you next time.